welcome to my show, Searching for Integrity. My name really is John Smith, and I'm searching for people with integrity. Why? Because our country suffers from IDD, integrity deficit disorder. Today we have a special guest again, Susan Renni Anderson. Did I get that one right, Susan?
You did.
Thank you. Uh, and she is the author of the book Christianity's Jewish Roots, a study of for Judaism for Christians. That's a mouthful. Big.
You need to
I even
take a
wrote,
breath in between.
yes, I haven't done that for the last 30 minutes. Uh, and something that, as I went through my observation, was part of what your um, media info, um, short sentence, he was a pious man. And
Hmm.
I have not seen the word pious until I was 15 or 16 years old. That's um, and of course I went to a dictionary quick as I could and looked it up. And of course it ends up in deeply religious. I think I'll simplify it that way.
Right.
Well, tell us about your this fantastic uh, the Christianity's Jewish roots. Um, really something, really something. How long did it take you to do it, to get it
I
done?
wrote it in it took about a year to write.
Aha, okay, very good. Um, and if I haven't read your book yet. I've not done that yet. However, I intend to.
Good.
Have you considered audiobooks?
I do. Well, it isn't an audio book, although I have a video training that I include with the sale of the book.
Aha, okay, that's good. Um, do people come to you and say, "Now, did this really happen? Is this really working one when not the others, Christians and Jewish and so forth?" Have you challenged in that way in some way?
Um, about the only challenge that I get are from a certain kind of Christian, not related to a denomination, but a certain kind of Christian who thinks that the New Testament replaced the Old Testament. And that's about the only challenge I get. And my answer would be Jesus would be horrified to think that they thought that the New Testament replaced the Old Testament. That was not his intention at all.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean that's the history, um, of course, and that's the first thing that they put in my Sunday school, and going over Sunday after Sunday. Of course, our churches are churches, and let's see, Jewish people synagogues. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. I had a number of friends in my high school um, that I learned some from them, not a whole lot, um, but it was something. And looking at this, it's just wow. This is like how this is. I'm having um, I'm having nervousness here just when I'm looking at saying what happened and what's going to be happened. And well, I guess that's another one. Let's see. What's the last book in the New Testament?
The last book in the New Testament is Revelation.
Revelations. And how does Revelations resolve what's in the book?
Well, that's a big question for a short time frame.
It only took me about 6 seconds to think it up.
Yeah, yeah. I I think if I understand where you're going with your question, um, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob are the forefathers in the Jewish religion, but they're also the forefathers in the Christian religion. Um,
Right.
and and Jesus was a rabbi. He was a teacher. He was Jewish. He led a life of a Jewish man following the laws and the traditions of
Huh?
Judaism. His
Right.
disciples were all Jewish. The authors of every book in the Bible are Jewish. So it's the idea of the New Testament replacing the Old Testament is kind of like saying, well, okay, I have a father, I no longer need my grandfather.
Mhm.
And that's not the case, obviously.
Mhm.
History is and there's so many more similarities in Judaism and Christianity than there are differences.
Right. Right. Maybe the word I was looking for in Revelations was expectations.
Well, I think the underlying current in Revelation, the expectation would be Jesus's return. Wouldn't you say so?
I would think so. Yes. Um, and what do we do if he doesn't?
Keep on keeping on. I mean, I have faith. I have I have a belief that Jesus is my Lord and Savior, and that He will return.
Right. Yes. And my parents, who took me to church 3 days a week, um, they've passed. Um, for what we know, they may be up there already talking to Jesus.
I'm sure they were.
Well, they still are.
Yes, right, right, exactly.
Well, your book here is I'm looking at it on the media sheet. It's which is a plus in your media sheet. Uh,
Thank you.
very well done. Um, have you had book openings, book signings, those types of things?
Well, unfortunately, no, because the book came out just as COVID lockdown.
Oh, lucky
So,
you.
yeah, I didn't do the traditional book signings. I've done
Right.
virtual book signings
Yeah.
and readings, and actually taught a class on the book. Um, that was that was awesome.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
It was a
Well,
group of people that were getting ready to go visit the Holy Land.
really.
And so we had an 8-week class, and then they left for the Holy Land. And the feedback that I got from them was very, very meaningful.
Well, I would hope so. You know, when the uh, COVID came rolling around, some people just get all the luck,
Yeah.
Uh, mercy, mercy. Now, um, it wasn't until the Romans destroyed the temple and exiled the Jews in 70 AD, and that was
Correct.
the Jewish Christ followers became known as Christians. Um,
Shortly after that, the name became
yes,
worldwide in the world that existed of that day at about 310 AD.
this is quite a piece, quite a piece. I what part of what you've written would you have gone back and made um, information to yourself, or I guess being yourself? Would you do it a different way? Was it all you're on the same track? I think.
It's a work I'm incredibly proud of. Um, it was giving birth to the book was very similar to bringing a child into the world. It was a creation long in the making. I was asked by one of my pastors to teach a class on Judaism, and I said to her, "What part?" And she said, "The whole thing." And I said, "So you want me to teach 6,000 years of history in an 8-week class?"
Oh,
So I looked for an off the shelf study on Judaism that was meant for a Christian audience.
mhm.
And they were like college textbooks. And my people were entry level with very little information
Right,
about Judaism.
right.
So I couldn't find what I needed on the bookshelf. So that's how I came to write the book.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very well done. Um, one sentence here. She felt a tug of war going on in her soul.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah. I was raised Jewish. I never had any intention of ever uh, becoming a Christian. That was just not not something on the horizon. And fortunately or unfortunately, I live in the Bible Belt in Georgia, and there was one synagogue in our area, and it was small,
Hmm.
and it merged with a larger synagogue and closed its doors and moved an hour away.
Hmm.
So at the time, my late husband was traveling for work and would fly in on Friday afternoons. And till he got home was usually a 2 hour from the time the plane landed until the time he got home. And it was too late to turn around and drive another hour to a synagogue to attend Sabbath services. Um, so after a couple of years, I just felt a God sized hole that I needed to be in a faith based fellowship,
Right.
and started doing a little reading, a little research online. And I asked my husband, who was raised a Christian, I asked him how he felt about going to church, and he said he'd be happy to go with me. By that time, he was retired. And
Right.
so we didn't have any time constraints.
Right.
And I went online and didn't know anything about denominations and found a small church near the house, and we started going to church. And we were, let's see, I was baptized. My husband, my granddaughter, and I were baptized in February of 2014.
Wow. Wow. Um, that's another congrats for you.
Thank you. Thank
It's
you.
yeah,
Means a lot to me.
well, it does. I would make so. Um, and it's something that you're proud of, and we're all
Yes.
proud of that.
Yes. And my soul is filled.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to think. My 3 days a week were usually given to the Church of Christ. That's a Christian group, and I can't help but not tell you this. When St. Peter was greeting someone at the gate, um, person said to St. Peter, he said, "Who's that big tent in?" And he
What's the
said,
what? Say that again.
"Who's the big tent?
Okay.
Who's the big tent over there?" And she said, I see, oh, it's the Church of Christ. They think they're the only ones here.
Okay.
Still
So do
do.
you still go to church?
No. Um, it doesn't mean I'm not spiritual in my own way. And um, I'm pausing here because I can see there's a dog and there's a cat.
A dog and two cats.
I'm sorry. Uh, so it was actually, I guess, when I went into the army and came out of the army was um, but that's all behind me as well, doing that, Vietnam, that kind of stuff. Um, you were in a Hebrew school when you were elementary school, I would say,
Mm-hmm.
from fourth through ninth grade.
Right.
Interesting, very interesting. There are so many things here I'm looking at that I'm thinking, um, why didn't I know about this before? I mean, all of this is, it's what it's done for me in terms of what you've done. Um, and we nicknamed you Angel.
Yeah. I've learned that the average Christian knows very little about their ancestry. And yet, when they encounter it in some way, they're thirsty to know more.
Right? And this made me thirsty with what I read pretty well, uh, things that I was given.
I think you'll
So
enjoy it.
I think I'll get the book.
Yeah. Email me
Yeah.
your questions. I'm happy to answer.
Okay. Uh, now, let's see. The Messiah, Jesus, will not be God. Only God is God, and God is one. It's a pretty good
Right.
statement. Pretty good statement.
Right.
Concept of God becoming human is foreign. Messiah will not be involved in the redemption of sin any more than any human Jewish leader.
Right.
Messiah will not come to redeem original sin, since Judaism does not believe in original sin. I didn't
Right.
know that.
I
I
tell
didn't
my
know that.
students that Christians believe that they sin because they're sinners, and that has to do with original sin. Jews, on the other hand, believe that they're sinners because they've sinned. So there is no stain of original sin in Judaism.
Well, I wasn't expecting that, but it was what centuries would be the messianic age?
Only God knows
No?
the answer to that one, John.
A time of peace among all peoples.
Right.
Wow. Now, the Romans turned on the Jewish people more than once.
They weren't the first ones.
Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, the history of the Jewish people is long filled with anti-Semitism and domination and um, expelling from the country where they lived. I mean, the Spanish Inquisition is a pretty good example of that.
Well, this is a list here. I've got a lot of markings on it. Um, 5 books of the Bible: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. Hey, I did that without making a move. And of course, I was drilled with that. Um, Together are known as the Torah,
Right.
Hebrew for instruction. It, it, in the Greek, 5 scrolls, Pentateuch.
Mm-hmm. We're all
Yeah.
familiar with the Exodus story where Moses went up Mount Sinai and came down with the commandments.
Huh? Yeah.
Many people don't realize that 10 commandments is not all there were. There's a total of 613 commandments.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Whoa. 613. Mercy.
Right.
Mercy.
And when he came down and he saw the golden calf that the people had made,
Yes.
he threw the tablets on the ground and broke them.
Right.
So he went back up to Mount Sinai and God dictated another set for him to take down,
An
which is
abbreviated
kept
set.
in the Ark of the Covenant.
Yes. Now, I believe the single author was believed to be Moses,
Mm-hmm.
the Hebrew prophet who led the Israelites out of captivity in
Right.
Egypt. And of course, that was a very good movie, I can say, for things. And the guided them across the Red Sea and the Promised Land. I'm reminded of all these things that happened. Um, so much is, it makes me think, the book, 200 and something pages, I'm going to say it looks like about an inch, inch and a half. And then I'm looking at all of this stuff that we're talking about. I'm thinking it's this big. This big.
Remember, my audience at the time were Christians who didn't know much about the Old Testament. So I had to stay basic and entry level. I couldn't go too deep.
Oh, is that right? Interesting.
It's a copy of the book.
Yeah, there it is. Very good. Very good. See what else we have here. I don't know this one. A volume of the Talmud, a
Mm-hmm.
collection of Jewish laws recorded between the 3rd and 5th century
Right.
AD. Dealt with this inconsistency by explaining that Joshua, Moses' successor as leader of the
Mm-hmm.
Israelites, Joshua.
Moses didn't get to go into the promised land. Joshua led the people into the out of the desert and into the promised land.
Remind me, what did Moses do wrong? Was it
When did
just
he
death?
what?
Was it doing wrong, or did he just pass away?
Um, well, God kept him from going into the promised land because he defied God. He thought
Uh,
he thought he knew as much as God did.
I see.
And but God didn't want to kill him. He took care of him until he died and then he buried him.
Wow. Something else I didn't know about. Um, Likely wrote the verses about Moses' death. Interesting. Wonder if they had word games about who's right and who's wrong.
Wonder if they had what?
Um, Word games between God and Moses.
I
You
I
were saying
I don't.
we said that getting off track. Um, it's a super piece here. Super piece. A study of Judaism for Christians is a valuable resource that Christians need in order to deeply appreciate both their Old Testament Jewish ancestors and the vibrant modern day Jewish people. How did no World War II and what the Germans did with all those places, I'll just call them, that that's something that you never want to have again, and lessons learned, I guess you could call it, but it's certainly boy. In Jewish holy days and festivals, readers will explore Shabbat, the Sabbath day.
Mm-hmm.
The Sabbath is one of the most sacred of the holy days of calendar. How does Christmas fit in?
Well, in Judaism, Christmas is just a day. It isn't celebrated as a holiday because we aren't celebrating the birth of Jesus as our Savior.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Um, it's now the special, the last page special. You've seen this.
Yes. The back of the book.
Yes, there you go. Well, if you've ever wondered, like I do, how Judaism is transitioned to Christianity, this is the book for you.
Right.
So these are my listeners. You probably know that Christians and Jews have the same God, and Abraham is our common forefather. This engaging examination is accessible and basic. It covers a lot of ground and answers many common questions that Christians have. Questions. In this thoughtful, practical study, we'll take a closer look at the topics ranging from Jewish history, basic beliefs, prayer and ritual, law, and holidays. You'll see both the parallels and the points at which Judaism and Christianity diverge. Idea for small groups, Bible studies, or individuals. Christianity's Jewish roots is a valuable resource that Christians need in order to deeply appreciate both their Old Testament Jewish ancestors and the vibrant modern day Jewish people. So I like the colors around that. It's special, Oh boy. I think I've covered enough before the hammer comes out and hits me on the head. I'm talking.
And tells you time is up.
Yeah, that's right. Well, it's good to see you again. And I want to
Thank you,
thank you.
John. It's good to be back.
Yes, it's not been a long time either. So I'm happy
No.
that you were able to help us out. And I wanted to get the second book. So we said it came sooner than we thought. I guess is what we can say.
I
But
got your book in the mail today.
did you now?
Mm-hmm.
Really interesting.
Well, thank you for having me again.
Well, I'm very
Always a
glad.
pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you. And when's book number 3?
I don't know that I have another 3.
Oh, well, my listeners have had a good time and probably learned a lot today in the 30 minutes we've together, searching for integrity And thank you very much again. So long and happy trails to all.